Hello, so welcome to the third episode of the vlog. In the last video, we were doing a little bit more set dressing with the rock pieces. We were also doing a little bit more refining of the terrain landscape so that we could get a clearer viewpoint of the doorways, which is the focal point of the scene. And then we were talking about reference a little bit as well. Since then, I've done a few changes. So one thing is the lighting. I've updated the lighting a little bit. I've added a little bit more background lighting. So if you go to this World Earth tab here, I just adjusted the color. It was here, something like this. I've just added a little bit more value to it so that we get some better ambient lighting. At some point later, when we do a more in-depth pass of the lighting, we'll be adding HDR backgrounds, HDRI backgrounds, and some volumes so that we get like some nice depth fog and stuff like that. But for now, adding this kind of does the job, just so that not everything is like super dark when in shadow. What else? I also added this shadow casting element to it. Previously, we had this whole entire ground being lit by the sun, but I wanted something a little bit more dramatic where you get like this nice kind of light shining through right in the middle, kind of cutting through the middle of the screen here. I kind of feel like the shadows are a nice way to frame the shot a little bit. So what I did was I just simply copied this giant rock piece and I put it right at the top here where you can't see it, and it doesn't get in the way, but it also casts this nice shadow, which I think adds quite a bit. And then from the details of like all the all the rock bits hanging out there, you get this kind of nice jagged shadow from the edges, right? So I'm really feeling that. I've also added, if you notice, these two characters here, and I think it really helps set the scale, because if you didn't have these two guys here, you don't really know like how big these things are. You don't know how big these rocks are. These could be like pebbles for all I care, right? Like you can't really tell. Last time we were talking about how rocks are such forgiving in terms of like scale. You can scale them up and down quite a bit, and you can't really tell how big they are. With that said, that's why we need characters, like something recognizable from our sort of brain, our human brains, to kind of tell you exactly how big these things are, right? And humans have a standard size pretty much, so our brain kind of knows, oh, okay, like that's how big this thing is. And I kind of wanted to have two characters so that it also tells you the distance of things, and you get like a relative scale that tells your brain like, hey, oh, okay, that's how far they are from each other, that's how big they are from each other. And it kind of gives you a really good idea of how big these boulders are, how big these doorways are. And I wanted them to be quite big, not like super gigantic, epic size, but quite large, right? Like I'm gonna pull on this reference board. Once again, I added a few more images here, as you can see from the last time, but something like this, right? Like these doorways are quite big. You have this like camel, and this person is walking across it, and you get like a nice kind of indication of how big this doorway is, right? Because even looking at this original photo here, there's nothing really there to tell you how big it is. I guess you have these bushes in the back, but it's kind of hard to tell that, like, oh, okay, like how big are these things actually, right? So having a person and an animal, recognizable elements from our memory, is a good way to really indicate scale. Really tells you how big things are. So that's what we've done so far. And so now like we're in a pretty good spot here. Again, I'm trying to not just rely on one image or one perspective. Might do something like this as well. Have this rock in the, yeah, that's pretty cool. Have this rock here be in the foreground. That might be a cool shot. And again, I haven't set up the cameras yet, but I know I'm getting like a really good feeling as to what I want, where I want the cameras to be. So in the last video, we're talking about like adding some details here as well. And now I'm really feeling that the camera should be quite low like this, as opposed to like being really high. I think this gives more of like a more epic shot. So I don't want to lose this. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to raise it actually. So I'm just going to grab these guys here and just like raise them up and then see how visible they are from here. You know what? I'm just going to leave it. I might just add some like cards in the back later, or like do something in Photoshop where I can just comp in like some distant mountains or something like that. That might be something that I do instead of like actually having something in Blender do that for me. So I don't want to stress out about that. But what I wanted to do in this video is, now we have a good indication of scale, we have a good indication of the lighting a little bit, and the compositions and where the cameras are going to be. Now the next step that I want to do is add a little bit of color to the scene. So right now everything is pretty much grayscale. The first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to grab this terrain, this landscape here, and I'm just going to add some color to it. So I'm going to go down to this material tab here. Just going to hit new. I'm going to name it. I like to label my my materials with the prefix matte _ landscape, and then I'm going to turn up the roughness all the way up, just because sand doesn't reflect for the most part. And then I'm going to play with a little bit of color here, something sandy, a little bit on the red side, red, orange, yellow side. I don't want to be too saturated. I think something like that is not a bad start. Just looking at some of the references here. Some of the sand is pretty high in value. Something like that. And now I want to grab the main rock and do the same thing. So we already have like an actual material set up with a normal map. We also have a roughness map here. So that's fine. I don't want to add the color yet. I don't want to be tinkering too much with the actual albedo map. I just want to sort of get like a really broad pass of the colors that I want to use first before fussing over like the little details, right? So now I know I want something a little bit darker, I think. But still have that like sandy look. Yeah, that's kind of nice. Right, so now I have this base color attribute here. And now I know later that when I do put in the actual albedo map, that this is going to be like the predominant hue that I'm going to be using for that, right? So later on when we plug in the albedo, there's going to be like a ton of different color information in it. But for the most part, now I know that this is going to be what I'm going to be mainly shooting for, right? So now I want to grab these other rocks, and since we want them to be, for the most part, like the same as this, right? The same hue as that. I'm just gonna simply grab that hex value or whatever. I'm just gonna plug that in and do that for this one as well. So yeah, now we have our base kind of colors blocked in. Just want to check out like if there's anything wrong with this one. Why is it like super dark on this side? Let me see if I switch the lighting around a little bit. Okay, I think it's just because that there's like a sharp indent there or something. Okay, not going to worry about that too much right now. So now I'm going to do a little bit of lighting adjustment, just because now the shadows are like really dark now that I added the placeholder albedo. So like this is pretty dark, right? So I'm just going to turn it up a little bit. Yeah, that's feeling a little bit better. Now if we look again at the reference, right? If you look at the shadows, shadow side, it's pretty light. Just because like all the sand that's on the ground is like bouncing up, right? So it's gonna be, those shadows are gonna be quite light. Just add a little bit of color. Now I don't want to get like too super fussy with the lighting right now. I don't want to get into the weeds of anything, but just adding a little bit here and there I think is not bad. Cool. So we got that, and now the last thing are the doors. So for now, let's actually plug in like the same exact color value that we used for the rocks here. So matte doors. And then I'm gonna apply it to all. So in Blender, if you want to select, like, this is the way that I apply all materials to like multiple things, is I select the ones that don't have the material, and then I select the last one that has the material that I want, and then I hit Control L, and then Lego materials, and then it will apply it to all the objects that I want it applied to. So now, yeah, we have this like unified color thing going on. I think I want to do something a little bit different. Play with this a little bit. Maybe go like something. Let's see. Maybe go with something a little bit darker. Yeah. Maybe the people that made this structure used like a different material or something. But yeah, like that feels a lot better, just to make it stand out a little bit. And then these guys, I typically I'm gonna replace them completely at some point, or paint over them. But for now, let's just make them like, let's see, let's try super white. No, let's do something like really dark for now, just so that we can see them. It's a little too green. Yeah, that feels way better. Okay, so we've applied some colors, a little bit more lighting into it, and by all means, these are not going to be the final iterations. Like, a lot of things can change as we go, but at least for now, we're funneling in and we're kind of getting more focused and we're getting somewhere with it, right? So I think this is feeling pretty good. Let me just tweak this a little bit. Oh, that's because the roughness. We should fix the roughness for that. And yeah, what was I saying? So we've added colors, we've added a little bit of lighting. There's going to be a lot more iteration as we go, definitely, but now we're getting more focused. We're kind of feeling as to the angles that we want. We're getting a good sense of where this is going to go. The next step that I think I want to do is refine a little bit more the lighting, add some HDRI lighting. There's also some volumes that we can apply so that we get some nice depth fog. And then the last thing I want to do is start thinking about like what the structure is for these doors. All right, like I haven't really thought about that so much. So that's going to be the next step as to like the designs and sort of the architecture of the man-made elements. So we'll stop it right there, and yeah, we'll go over those things in the next video.